Welcome back to the show. Now we're getting into our Mo Better Blues review. We can start off with the overview. This is a 1990 musical comedy drama film starring Denzel Washington, Wesley Snipes, and Spike Lee, who also wrote, produced, and directed it. Follows a period in the title of fictional jazz trumpeter Bleak Gilliam, played by Washington, has a series of bad decisions resulted in jeopardizing both his relationships and his playing career. Had a budget of $10 million and brought in $16,153,600 and had a 71% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. But what were your initial thoughts on a film that was very suspenseful, packed with great music, and deals with personal issues more than social ones?
First thing I noticed was, man, they got a lot of legends in here. From Charlie Murphy, Samuel L. Jackson, Bill Nunn, Wesley Snipes, Robin Harris, Denzel, Spike Lee, obviously, even Giancarlo Esposito or something, I'm forgetting, whatever, and John Turturro. And he loves using the same people, just like every other director. I was watching Malcolm X right before the podcast. I'm like, yo, I've seen all of them and all the other movies that he did back in the 90s. But I thought this was an interesting movie. You could tell this is his early career of directing and shooting, and it was a lot of good in this movie. I love some of the shots. I love the actors in it. Denzel always brings out, but there were some things I'm like, yeah, this was low budget, and this was definitely made in the 90s. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent movie.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the interesting thing because last time when I did the podcast with Trenton, he was talking about with Christopher Nolan how he uses similar actors and actresses. Spike Lee does the same thing. Like, do you think that's just a natural thing for a director, a successful director, to do? Like, when they fit something that just works and it clicks, they're like, I want to go back to this and keep using it.
Oh, for sure. Even Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, the list goes on of directors using the same people because you already have that relationship with them and know what they can and cannot do, how they can bring a character out. And sometimes you write character just for those actors that you worked with in the past, or you like, hey man, play this role. Like Samuel L. Jackson said, he made himself be in Kill Bill. He was like, man, I could play the piano guy. So sometimes his actors wanted to be in the films, or directors like, hey, come do this for me. So I don't think it's any different with Spike Lee. And Spike Lee, he definitely has that group of people that he used a lot in the 90s, not more so later down the road, but definitely in the 90s. He was like, yo, I need you to payroll. I need you on call because I don't know if I can find anybody else. But anyway, all great directors utilize the same formula.
Yeah, absolutely. And now getting into our first topic from 1 to 4 stars, what would you give it? I would go with 3 because there's just so much good dialogue within it, real combative situations that turn into a boiling point, and that's a really interesting concept. And I do see your point about, hey, like, this was shot differently. This, you could tell it was low budget in certain aspects. But from 1 to 4 stars, what would be your particular rating?
Oh, 2 stars. Just some of the scenes, bro. Like, you could tell they weren't kicking them really. You could tell like the punches, the cutting was a little like sort of kind of bad. The best shots came from the performances when they were on stage.
Amazing.
Even with when they were on stage, saxophone, the different panning out, coming in, that was the best shots. Like even the fight scene in the alley when they were beating up Spike Lee, it was just terrible. Yeah. It was just terrible. And even with Denzel, when he came out there and got beat up, it was just, it's like, bro, who cut this? Who did the stunts? Who rehearsed this? And then the acting, some of the acting was terrible too. Like the other girl that was dating the light-skinned one, her acting was so terrible. Bad. I'm like, bro, how did you get here? Hey, excuse me, ma'am. How did you get here?
Yeah. I need to see your credentials.
Who told you were cast? I think that's the question I want to hear from
miscommunication.
You. Right. Even now in 2023, who cast you?
Yeah.
Who you knew? But some of the acting was terrible. Some of the shots, it was just like, you can tell he was early in his career. Obviously, he's so much better at editing and shooting and but obviously you got to get to that moment. Martin Scorsese wasn't as good. Even Taxi Driver had some of his faults. You could tell it was like ABC shooting,
Yeah,
ABC cutting.
that's a
Like, so
four-star
you,
film.
as a director, you got to get to that point. But that's why I gave it 2 stars. Obviously, you got a star-studded cast with a lot of legends, but you can't negate just the. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't
I
Do
think
the
the
Right Thing.
storyline.
It wasn't Do the
Yeah,
Right Thing.
yeah, that was really good. And then
Yeah.
obviously he has his. No, he didn't start that yet. His famous shot is look like they're riding something, and it's like a Westcom shot
Oh
coming,
yeah,
and it's
that's
slow.
his
That's his
signature.
signature.
His
His signature
signature.
shot. I love that shot. It was in Malcolm X.
Hmm.
Beautiful shot.
Man,
But yeah, but this wasn't the storyline. The storyline and the script was good. It was just the shooting and the editing for me that really kind of, and some of the acting kind of like did it for me.
the light skinned credential girl. We're gonna call her light skinned credential girl.
It
Hey,
wasn't because of
she was.
that.
No, I'm
She
kidding. I'm
was just
kidding.
like, "Don't call me Indigo." I was like, "What?" The other lady had a better
She was
performance.
better.
You could tell like she had a couple gigs before this one. You know, nothing against the dark skin, light skin
Oh man,
epidemic that's in the
that
black
battle.
community. Sorry, I don't want to get canceled.
I was like, man, we got to use our words carefully with this one. But would you, before we move on, would you say Malcolm X is that Spike Lee's best film to you?
Ooh.
So I know some would say Do the Right Thing, but man, Malcolm X is
It's top three. Do the
yeah,
right
top
thing
three.
is it's out of Do the Right Thing or Malcolm X. He has some other great ones, but just everything aligned and Do the Right Thing. But Malcolm X, it was almost 3 hours long, but it was so tasteful from the beginning to the end. The editing was really good, but and obviously Denzel, it really looked like he was Malcolm
It
X.
did.
I've seen a lot of depictions and a lot of people play that role, but none of them sound like him. None of them they move like him. Even the pressure points in the fingers, Denzel had it to a T. I'm like, bro, oh my, no, he got game is up there too
Oh
now.
yeah, because we reviewed that one recently. Yeah,
So he got some good ones, but
got some really
I
good
do
ones.
think it's either Malcolm X or Do the Right Thing. The Do the Right
Yeah,
Thing was that was a
perfecto.
masterpiece. Yeah, it was really good, and he used the same actors.
Yep, you might as well keep doing it.
But ain't broke, don't fix it.
And now getting to a favorite character, I would go with Bleak because he's conflicted in many parts of the film because he knows what he wants, but is still confused about the right way to go about it and doesn't really realize the people he's going to hurt long term. To you, overall, who is your favorite character in this one?
I have to give it to Samuel Jackson's character, Matlock. Like it was just how you were a henchman and you got a messed up leg when he first introduced. And bro, just thinking about that scene, how they opened the door and how you fell, bro. That was shot so terribly. But he was my favorite character though because it was funny. And obviously I wanted to say Denzel. You said Denzel, but I have to pick. I gotta pick somebody else.
I did
So Matlock it is. Matlock is my favorite character. Nah, I'm gonna say Denzel. I mean, his I do say the scenes where he's switching from different girl, and obviously one of their acting was terrible, but the switching and the eyes, the driftedness, and to be able to cut back and forth, man, Denzel's character and how he brings that character out, and he was a mad dog on that trumpet, mad dog. Especially when Spike Lee was getting beat up in the alley, he was
like you going harder.
and then he walked out. Didn't say nothing, just walked out to the alley and got beat up.
Like no, like hey, thank you for coming. None of that. He just like nah, I'm leaving.
Didn't acknowledge his bandmates.
It's like you
Nothing.
gonna say something, man?
Just walked into the alley and got beat up. Yeah.
Cold world.
Cold world for real. Jermaine Cole.
Jermaine. And now getting into most memorable scenes, I had first the scales, also Bleak's trumpet
Mm.
practice, Bleak and Shadow competing, Inigo and Clark walking in, also Where's Our Money, Giant beaten to a
Mm-hmm.
pulp, Save My Life Please, and then finally Bleak and
Mm-hmm.
Indigo's wedding. To you, what were some of the memorable scenes overall in this film?
Every last one of you just mentioned, especially the scene they got beat up in the alley. Um, the scene right before he got beat up in the alley, just to show that back and forth. and then him, no, no, not the back and forth, but him just going crazy, and then the back and forth between him and Shadow was really good, and then the scene when he was going back and forth with the girls, and they was talking about my name ain't Indigo, and it was just like and he
Yeah,
just grabbed his trumpet. Every time you know get into something, you want to grab your trumpet and something like that. I thought that was a great scene because it told more than what was shot. So I think that was my favorite scene. Him just spacing out, going to that, and then grabbing his saxophone, and then yeah, it
that was
said
an
more.
interesting like back and forth. Yeah,
Yeah, it said more than what was shot, especially when he grabbed the trumpet, and then him staring out the window when he hears the door shut. He doesn't even play it, but the trumpet gives him a sense of comfort of, and then yeah.
mhm, absolutely. And now getting into most memorable scenes I had. What do you want from Bleak? Also, you don't know what you want from Clark. I know what I want. My music. Everything else is secondary. Also, say something from Clark, and then finally, all Bleak cares about is Bleak from Shadow. What were your overall like quotes that you felt as though were the standouts? And also, the contrast, with Wesley Snipes' character and Denzel's, like their back and forth. I feel like that was one of the most like pivotal parts. Like, also, what did you think about the kind of the chemistry? I feel as though Denzel and Wesley Snipes also had in this film as well.
Yeah, you could tell. I think this is not a typical Wesley Snipes role, especially in the '90s. He had to show him and Denzel had to show to see them on the same screen and be able to like go back and forth to see how much range they have in the ability to bring any type of character to life and do it at a high standard. But man, I think you said the best one, like, what do you want? I want a man who knows what he wants, decisive, blah, blah, blah. I know what I want, my music, everything else is secondary.
Yeah,
And that shows that in those scenes, every time that was going back and forth with the women, grabbing his, what I'm saying, his sax or his trumpet, whatever the case may be, and him just holding on to it and just like, oh,
that was his
okay, you're
everything.
still here. Yeah, that was his everything. Music was his everything. So I think that was it just sums up the character. Because if you wasn't really paying attention through the whole film, that conversation and that scene, the
Yeah.
scene with him going back and forth with the women, will tell you all you need to know
Oh
about
yeah,
the character, Bleak.
definitely. And now getting into kind of like what did you like the most about the storyline? To me, just the decline of friendship being chronicled. When money comes into the equation, because that's like
Yes,
we
that
see with so many
was.
of these movies when money comes in. Like even I was watching a couple weeks ago the Temptations movie, and like ego is always it's always there. It's always something that has been a part of music groups, and just how that overarching goal for Shadow, him trying to realize um, the what he wanted, because he wanted his own gig, he wanted more money, he wanted
Mhm.
to shine. He eventually got that, but that was the battle him and Bleak were going through in the entire movie. What particular element of this storyline did you kind of like the most?
That and the addition of what would you put, like, how focused are you when it comes to being successful? And I think when it comes to Bleak, he was willing to put everything aside and just focus on the music. And I think that takes a lot of focus, especially in that time, because obviously it was music, it was drugs, it was women, that's
Yeah,
everywhere, right? And to be focused on your craft, on top of friendship, like what will break down or halt a friendship, which is always money,
always, man.
always ego. It's the same formula since BC. So
Yeah,
I think those part of the storyline really brought it out. I think the script was really good,
yeah, script was so good.
solid script, solid script, and just if it was shot today, I think the
It'll be
movie
a four
would be
star film.
even better. Yes,
Yeah,
for sure, for sure.
definitely. And now getting to our last topic, themes from now, do you still think it'll be watchable and intriguing? I feel as though this is a film that, like you said, the script is solid. I think when you have the whole cast in it, like Denzel, Wesley Snipes, Giancarlo Esposito, just all those guys in it. It's going to, and even Spike Lee. He was. If you haven't watched the film, he acted in it as well, and contributed a lot into it.
Hmm.
So when you have all that, I feel as though it is one that you can. We even say about Scorsese, like a film like Raging Bull. It's not one of those ones you instantly go to, but it's deep within the vault. I feel as though this is like Spike Lee's Raging Bull. Like it's deep within the vault,
Yeah,
but it's still a good movie. It's still one you'll go back to, but it's just not one of those like It's can okay, like you said, Malcolm X or Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, you see the potential of what is to become of him being a director, not an actor. Spike Lee is not a good actor. Let's just gonna say that
Man,
he's
that was a
not a
weak.
good actor.
He was kind of the weak point of
Even
the.
Malcolm X, he was not a good actor. That walking across the street like that. You like a GTA extra. What is going there? Grand Theft Auto extra. Man. But it showed the potential of how great a director he could be. And now that we know what came to fruition. But yeah, it's not one of those films you go back to watch all the time. It's not one of his top 5 films, but I do think it shows the potential of the writing ability and the directing ability. So yeah. Is it watchable? I mean, I
I think
mean,
so. It's a
uh,
good film. The Spike
uh,
Lee, just ignore Spike Lee's accent.
right.
Try to ignore that.
And ignore the fight scenes and just like them just spitting blood out their mouths instead of it being like
What
actual
was he
full
thinking, man?
motion. Them just
And ignore and ignore Bleak not acknowledging the crowd or his band members and being like, "I'm just gonna walk out,
yeah, I'm just gonna walk out.
walk out."
Yeah, I'm just gonna walk out.
That look.
I would have said, where he going?
Denzel
Yeah,
has
that's
that look
funny.
too when he finishes a performance, and he just gave that look. I was like, "I'm out.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know
tired.
what I did.
Y'all know what I did. I shuts it down. That's
Shut it
what I
down."
did. I shuts it down.
And I'm gonna get beat up.
He got beat up for real with his own instrument.
Man,
That was
that was
funny.
something.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Winter Burns, on my counterpart, Savon Morris. This is Mental Scope. See you later.